Hi.
Hi. Hi, is this Emma and Lynn?
It's just Emma right now.
Oh, hi, Emma. I'm so sorry for the little technical glitch that we had there. I'm so glad we got it working.
Yeah.
So, just to make it a little simpler, if you just want to save this link, then I'll just make a note that we'll just use this same link every single time so that I make sure we're always in the same the same place for your sessions. So I know a little bit about you from your mom, but I always like to hear from you as well. So the student that I'm actually working with. Um, so, tell me a little bit about what you've done in the past, your past experience, and what you've done with music previously, and just let me know kind of where you're at with everything at this point, kind of leading up to now.
Okay. So like I started during COVID year
Okay,
because it was like a hobby, and
right, yeah,
then I got a teacher in real life, like in person, and like
yeah.
I did like Hall Leonard. I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah. The Hal
Yeah,
Leonard series, yeah.
yeah, that cup until like it like got shut down, and
Oh,
then
okay.
yeah, and then 2 years ago and like last year I did American Protege, and like
Okay, great.
yeah,
That's awesome.
and I got rewards there, and
Oh, nice.
yeah.
Beautiful. Awesome. So we are wanting to continue with doing competitions. So I'm curious, what competitions have you looked at? Like, have you looked at any young artist programs or other competitions? Kind of thinking of the next year or so, preparing for those. What are the competitions that we want to be preparing for?
My mom was telling me about like the Nats, and
Yeah,
then
absolutely. That would be a great one to do.
like young arts, that
Yeah.
competition.
Nice, awesome, great, and I can definitely send you some suggestions as well. Um, can you tell me, do you like to stay generally in your region or area, or are you willing to travel to competitions as well?
Well, I think it mainly depends when.
Sure, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So could you tell me also where do you live around like what major cities, just so that I can kind of send you options that are closer to you as well?
I live in Atlanta.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, there's a lot around there. So that's that's awesome. Yeah. So there are definitely going to be a lot of good options. The Schmidt Vocal Competition hosts regional one-day events all across the U.S. So this is going to be for like different grade levels like sophomores, juniors, seniors. They're going to have scholarships, master classes. They're going to have cash awards as well that go along with that. We could also look at the Richard Miller classical voice competition. You would have to travel to that one because it's at Oberlin College, which is in Ohio. The classical singer competition has both classical and musical theater categories. In the past, they've had both virtual submissions as well as in person. So that might be one to look at. There's also the Music Teachers National Association, which has a competition as well. The National Scholastic Musicians Awards is another one you could look at. So there are a lot of different ones that we could look at. So, there are plenty of good options. So I will put together a list for you of some suggested competitions, and then you can look at what the dates are and which ones you feel like you would be a good fit for, because some of them are going to be very focused. So they might have, we're focusing on Baroque music specifically. So you would want to bring something like a Handel oratorio or a Bach piece. You want to bring something that's fitting for that era, that time period. Um, you could do competitions that are just art songs only. So maybe it's a particular kind of art song, even like German art song, French art song. So sometimes they'll be very specific like that, and then other times they'll be more general. So they might have where you bring a couple contrasting selections, that kind of thing. So I think it's always good to have in your repertoire a handful of a variety of pieces. So I'm curious also, what are some of the pieces that you've learned in the past that you feel like you could pull back out to use again? And just also to kind of let me know what you've worked on up to this point.
Like recently I've learned like the bati bati and like
Yes, yes, your mom mentioned that. That's a beautiful piece. I love that one. It's one of my favorites. I think it's such a fun piece. You get to work on the recitative. The character is such a fun character. It also has a lot of drama in it. So you get to show off your acting as well as your vocal skills. And it requires pretty solid technique. So you've got like three main chunks where you get to show off a variety of different vocal styles through there. And then also it takes a lot of skill with your breath. We have to have those quick release breaths really solid. And so the timing, Mozart is always going to be technically very precise. So I think it's a really good one for learning. And it also isn't a piece that's too large for your age as your voice is still growing. So I think that's a great one to be working on. So I'm curious what you've worked on in the past or what pieces you've done for competitions in the past as well.
I've done this was like 2 years ago, but I've
Okay,
done Think of Me from the Phantom of the Opera.
beautiful.
And then like some other pieces.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that gives me a good idea too of, voice type, where your voice is comfortable. That can evolve through time. Voices can change and grow through time, but that lets me know where you're at this time. That's beautiful. Okay, perfect. Okay, lovely. I'm curious, are you still interested in doing like the American Protege competition again? Is that something that you feel like you want to move past or you would like to revisit?
I think anything is fine. Like just like something to expand like my competition like list,
Yeah,
I guess. So yeah, I
absolutely.
would be
Yes.
fine like doing it again.
Beautiful. Okay, great. So I think that with what you've got, you have a really great classical musical theater, like legit ingenue character. Then you also have a Mozart aria. This is an actual aria from an opera. And so that's going to be another category. And I think it would be great for us to add an art song to your repertoire of some kind. So it could be English, French, German, Spanish, Portuguese, Russian, Czech. Do you have a particular language that you feel like you would like to explore?
Not really, no. I don't have any preference. Like
Okay.
I've sung art songs before. For example, have you ever heard of the Charming Chloe?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
Awesome.
sang that for American Protege last year.
Okay. Nice. All right. So you've got. So I think then maybe learning a different language would be good, because we've got Italian, we've got English. So maybe looking at like a Latin piece, a German piece, a French piece, just something in a different language would be good because some competitions will ask for a few different language options, and so I think that would be a good thing to kind of stretch you a little bit farther. I would say German for American English speakers tends to be a little bit more accessible than French. So maybe starting with a German art song. So I'm gonna send you some possibilities of German art songs to take a look at. And then you can do some listening this week. If you don't like any of them, that's okay. There are tons out there. So, so it's just German poetry that they set to music, and it's a more like small, intimate kind of classical genre. But I'm curious too with that then, do you have any particular subject matter you especially like? German art song tends to focus a lot on nature or folk tales. It could be stories, like a story that gets passed down through generations. So a lot of it is going to be like legends and stories and folk tales, or they also have a lot of pieces that focus on nature. So if you wanted one that talks about flowers or the woods or water, like a river flowing. Those would be subjects that you would find a lot in German art song. Is there like a certain topic area that kind of appeals to you?
Not really, no. I
Okay.
really don't have any preference.
Yeah, so I'll just send you some possibilities.
Yeah.
I'll throw in a few French as well in case you just like some of the French art songs better. I think if you're conquering Bhakti Bhakti, that you can probably conquer a French art song.
Yeah.
Because that's a tough one. So I'll send some possibilities of both of those. And then you can have some listening time and find the ones that you like best. Just so we get a little more variety mixed in there and also some new challenges as well. I'm curious, have you learned any of the Italian art songs? With Batti Batti, you've got an Italian piece right there, but there are books that have like the standard Italian art songs that pretty much like everybody learns, like Caro mio ben, Vittoria, mio core, right? Like so, those kind of standard art songs that people learn. Have you done any of those?
I've done Per la Gloria.
Yes. Okay. Per la Gloria. That's a great one. That's a beautiful piece. All right. Beautiful. Okay. So you've got a couple Italian. You've got a couple English. Lovely. All right. Nice. Have you done any Latin pieces? A lot of the time people start with foreign language with Latin. So I'm just curious if you've done any like Ave Maria, Pie Jesu, anything like that.
Yeah, I've
Dona
done.
Nobis,
Yeah, I've done
Hashem.
Dona Nobis.
Okay.
And then I've done in school right now. So we have a big conference that's called like GMEA, and like it's one of the biggest state
Yeah.
conferences for chorus. And
Yes.
our school choir got invited, so like it's really prestigious, and we're singing La Damus Te as one of our songs.
Nice. Yeah, yeah. I know all about GMEA. That's a great opportunity. I'm so excited for you to get to go be part of that. Yeah, I would say take advantage of as much of that as you possibly can. That's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. Okay, beautiful. So, what I would love to do today is get to know your voice a little bit better. The first lesson, usually what I do is I'm going to cover all the basics with you just to kind of make sure that you know how I teach and how I talk, and I get to know you a little bit better. I'm going to learn what your strengths and weaknesses are. Um, if you have questions along the way, just let me know. Also, if you have comments, like things that you want me to know, absolutely fill me in on that. So I'm curious, before we dive in, what do you think are your strengths and weaknesses?
Um, One of my weaknesses is like this is like I feel like a common problem for me. Like whenever I'm singing,
Okay.
especially like when I'm singing in for example, Bati Batio. Like
Yes.
that song, like whenever I reach like somewhere high,
Ah.
like my like my voice turns like a bit breathy, I guess, and like yeah, like even though like I may not think that way, but like when you hear it, it sounds like breathy.
Right. Yeah,
And
it
like I
sounds a
just
little bit breathy.
that's been a problem for me for like years, and like I just don't know how to solve it. So
Yeah. Okay. So we want a more full, rich, like powerful, present kind of sound. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Absolutely. That's a really good observation and self awareness. Love that. So I'll definitely listen for that, and we'll try to approach that. I'm curious. The pieces you were mentioning, they tend to focus a little bit higher. Have you worked in your lower range at all, and how do you feel with the lower notes?
okay, so yeah, I at school I'm usually like an alto too.
Oh, okay.
Like I yeah, I can sing pretty low, but it's not. It's like I can hit the notes, but like it's not the desired, for example, like opera voice.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. Yeah. So that's interesting. So what's cool though is you're learning a lot. You're doing harmonies, and I bet that you're actually developing a really good musical ear with that. So that's great to hear that you're doing alto and choir. All right. So then I'm curious too. Then you're comfortable in your low and your high. What about bridging the gap there, like the register shifts, going through the passaggio? Do you feel like that stays pretty smooth, or does that tend to have like a clear flip or break? when you go through that?
Okay, so like, you know that break between like the top, like high, and then like
Yeah.
the middle, that
Yeah.
top break, that's also been an issue, that
Okay.
transition, especially when I'm doing like scales, like, and then sometimes I feel like it's not really well, like the shift is not, like it's very visible, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
So,
Yeah, okay, good. So we'll definitely work on that as well. Wonderful. Yeah, thank you for that input. I will be listening for all of that. So some of the things that I say today might be review, but I just want to make sure that we cover all those basic building blocks just so that there aren't any gaps in our learning. And also then if I say something, I want to be sure that you understand what I'm saying. If I ever say anything and it's confusing or you go, I don't know what that word means, just let me know and we'll figure it out. We'll talk about it. All right, perfect. So I'm sure some of these things are going to be familiar. Like I said, you might have heard them in choir or in other lessons. We're going to make sure that we always have a nice, tall, elongated posture. Singers are tall and confident, and we are broad and expansive. We take space, we do not shrink. So we are powerful beings. So I want a nice, tall, elongated spine. I want these shoulders back, this chest open and lifted. We're going to breathe and expand that rib cage. Feel that expansion as you breathe in. You can also feel an expansion lower in your belly space as your diaphragm is flattening in that elevator action. And then as you sing through and that diaphragm comes back up, and Italians call it a leaning into the breath, that gentle pressure, so we get a consistent stream of air. We're going to then feel that kind of relaxing closed again. So as we breathe in, opening up that torso all the way around, even in that back space, and then you'll feel that closing gradually as we send that air up and out. So a nice focused breath energy. So let's try that again, that torso expanding. And then sending that air focused up and out. Nice. All right. So I want to try, let's do on shh, 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 on an SH, like you're shushing someone. Good. Do you feel those little puffs in your core, almost like crunches or sit-ups? Yeah, so that's your diaphragm engagement there. We use the abs to kind of tell the diaphragm what to do there. So if you have more like bouncy, fast passages, it might be more like that, where it's these puffs of air. And then you might have other times where you have a long flowing phrase, and so it's that feeling of where that diaphragm is steadily giving pressure, and then the ribs will close as we send that air up and out. Good. All right, so the vocal folds themselves, we have one tube that's going to go like a fork in a road and branch into two sections. So you're going to have the one direction and then the other. One direction is going to go to your esophagus. So that's your food, your water, the things you eat and drink. The other has these little gatekeepers, and that is so that we keep foreign objects out of our lungs. So they're like, nope, you can't go this way. And so those are actually your vocal folds, those little gatekeepers. They're doing their job because we're alive. We don't have anything obstructing our air pathways. So those gatekeepers, when we want to make sound, we're going to close those. We send air through. So we don't close them so much that air can't get through. We close them to the point air can still get through. And then they're going to vibrate as the air flows. That's how we get that sound. Those vibrations travel through the air. When they hit our eardrum, we process them as sound. Now, depending on how fast or slow we vibrate those, we get higher and lower pitches. So if I want to vibrate faster to get a higher pitch, I'm going to have a lighter pressure on the closure so more air can flow through faster, and then those are going to vibrate faster. That's how we get those higher notes. If I want to vibrate slower, I'm going to have more pressure so the air flows through more slowly, and then those vibrations are going to go a little bit slower to get that lower pitch. So when you're on a lower note, you might be doing hundreds of vibrations per second, like 500, let's say. And then when you go up higher, you might be doing 1,000 vibrations per second. So they're very impressive because they're not very big. if you look at your nail, the distance across, that's about how long they are. So they're pretty small and they're vibrating very, very fast. So they are quite impressive. So we have two muscles that control those. One is going to pull front to back and one pulls side to side. The front to back muscle is usually the one we use when we go a little bit higher. So as we elongate and stretch front to back, we get a lighter pressure on that side to side engagement, and that's why the air can flow through more fast. Then if we want to have a lower pitch, we usually engage that side to side muscle. That's going to put more pressure and that slows the airflow. So I'm going to talk about sometimes your head voice muscle and your chest voice muscle, or I'll say mixed voice. Your head voice muscle is your cricothyroid muscle or your CT muscle. That's the one that's going to be pulling front to back. So you're going to feel, when we use that, you're going to feel an elongation. You're going to feel a stretch vertically up and down. You're going to feel more of that. Even though technically we're pulling front to back, it feels more like this vertical stretch. When we want to use our chest voice muscle, that's your thyroarytenoid muscle or your TA muscle, we are going to engage more of that side to side muscle. We're going to feel a little more pressure in the vocal folds there. It's going to feel, it's thicker and wider, and so it's going to feel like there's more intensity in the vocal folds themselves. So if you gently touch your throat, this little notch down here, just very lightly touch that and go, ah, you're going to feel some vibrations there. Yeah, so that is where those vibrations are coming from. If you touch a little higher and you swallow, you'll feel the little cartilage box go up and down. That's your larynx. So that's there to protect those vocal folds. We as singers, we don't just change the shape of the vocal folds and the speed of the breath flow. We also change that tube the air is going to flow through. So we might raise or lower that larynx. We're going to change things like our lip shape, our tongue shape, how open or closed our jaw is. We're going to vibrate into different areas of our anatomy to have different resonant spaces. So you'll feel these vibrations resonating in different parts of your body. The reason we call it head voice and chest voice is because most people, not all, but most, will feel the vibrations more in their head when they're in that head voice, and they're going to feel the vibrations more in their chest when they're in that chest voice. So when you're using those muscles. So I want to play with and see if we can find those. So I want you to try like a sad little puppy dog. Can you give me a... Beautiful. Yes. Now give me like a little baby owl, or like the Pillsbury Doughboy or Mickey Mouse. Give me a woohoo. Yeah. Or like a whoo, whoo. Yeah, so that is more of that head voice muscle or your CT muscle. Now I want you to try like your Santa Claus. Give me a big booming ho, ho, ho.
Ho, ho, ho.
Yes, so that is more of your chest voice muscle or your TA muscle at work. So when we did those, did you feel vibrations anywhere in your anatomy? So let's try that again and just pay attention to that. Give me a whoo, whoo. Great. Where do you feel that vibrating in your body?
Like up around my face.
Okay, yeah. So more in your head space, right? Then let's try the Santa Claus laugh. Ho, ho, ho.
Ho, ho, ho.
Good. Where do you feel the vibrations when you do that one?
Like up around here.
Yeah, so there isn't really like a right or a wrong answer. Different people feel sensations differently. But it's very common to feel the vibrations when you're utilizing your head voice muscle a little bit higher. And then when you use that chest voice muscle to feel those vibrations a little lower. So some people might say like, oh, I feel the head voice muscle more here and then the chest voice muscle more here. Or I feel the head voice here and then the chest voice more here. So feeling those vibrations, being aware of the physical sensations, that's going to be very important for singing, because it's not like a dance class where you can just look in a mirror and be like, oh, I see I need to angle more this way, and I need to lift my arm a little bit more, and oh, I need to turn my leg out and point a little more with my toe. We can't see it as much, and so we have to go a little bit more by what we're feeling. So I'm going to talk about things in terms of what you might be feeling, as well as using using visualization as well to kind of help make sense of those things. So I'm going to also do a little test. What did you have for breakfast today?
Bread.
Okay, all right. So when you thought about it, you looked to the side. So that tells me that you are a strong auditory learner. I'm a very strong auditory learner as well, which is great for singing. If you look up, it means you're visualizing what you had for breakfast. And if you look down, it means you're thinking about what you felt in that moment when you had breakfast. And so that just gives us some insight into what your strongest learning style is. So listening is going to be a really good resource for you. Just to help you, because that's a learning style that you're very strong in. So I'm going to keep that in mind. I'm probably going to assign some good listening homework pretty often then. All right. Do you feel like that you do really well with visual or kinesthetic learning as well? Do you feel like you kind of gravitate towards certain learning styles?
Well, like hands-on activities.
Okay, yeah, more kinesthetic. Yeah, like doing the thing kind of helps you to learn more. Absolutely, yes. Well, with singing, we're going to be doing a lot. Perfect. Okay, so I know that was a lot of information, but let's go ahead and actually dive into some singing now, because I want to hear that beautiful voice, and I also want to just kind of explore some of these things that you had mentioned that you're like, it's a little bit of a struggle for me. So we're just going to go through, explore, see where we're at with things. Okay, so let's start. We're actually going to start by going a little bit lower first off. So we are going to do just a side down with the piano. We're going to slide down on a fifth. So we're going to go on just on ha. So a nice breathy sigh, very relaxed, and we're just going to kind of ease down. And I just want to see how far we go here. All right, breathing in. Breathe. 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 All right, I don't hear anything like resisting or like, negative happening, but I do feel like we're kind of getting towards the bottom there. So I want to just try just a sigh down, and I just want to see how far you can go where it's still comfortable. So and so I went all the way to vocal fry. If you don't go that far, it's okay. Just kind of sigh down and see where you go to. Okay, nice. Yeah, you went to your vocal fry as well. Beautiful. So actually back in like the 1800s, 1700s, they thought that vocal fry was bad for your voice. But modern research has actually shown it's almost like a little vocal massage. Your body releases hydration to your vocal folds, both internally and externally, when you go to that space. So when you're warming up, going into the low first can be really useful, because your body is going to fill your vocal folds with hyaluronic acid. They're going to swell, they'll line up more evenly, and then also your body is going to give some external lubrication as well, kind of like a squeaky door that you put WD-40 on, and then it starts sliding really smoothly. So then they vibrate more smoothly against each other because they have a little bit of lubrication there. So that's a really great thing to do as you're warming up, and also as you're cooling down after a big vocal workout that you've like been practicing and or done a big choir concert or something. Doing just a nice gentle cool down where you go into the lows can be very just relaxing and release those muscles, especially if you've been working in the high highs a lot. Just kind of resetting and going back into that low. Just like if you were working out in the gym or doing a sport, if I was exercising these muscles, I would also want to exercise these, or I get kind of awkward and lopsided and clumsy. So working on the low is going to help your high, and working on the high is going to help your low. It keeps your voice really balanced. A lot of the time I see people who sing soprano pieces just want to stay up there. And so I really encourage you to also at least warm up into the lows each day that you sing as well. All right, so let's go ahead and try going up a little bit higher now. And let's take E, A, and A this time. So we're going to go on E, A, A. So we're going to start on the E low, the A when you get to the fifth, and then to the A at the top. And then we just slide back through those. I'll type this into the chat just so that it's a little easier to remember. E is going to go up to A, is going to go up to A, and then back down to A, and then back to the E. So I just put that in the chat just so that as we're processing the exercise.
Also, just a quick question real quick. Is it normal with vocal fry, like you can hear like a tone?
Yeah, you're gonna have a pitch there, but what's happening is we're stretched so far side to side that we're not getting a clear, like a crystal clear note anymore. We get this kind of gravelly, crackly kind of sound. And so it's kind of like a Johnny Cash kind of effect where it's like, because you're mine, I walk the line. And it's like, he's kind of like rah, 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 gravelly in there. We don't get a super crystal clear pitch. You're going to have a pitch, but it's going to be this like crackly, gravelly, textured kind of sound when you get to there. And it's just because we're stretched so far side to side that we're no longer lining up evenly along those vocal folds anymore. So they're like little gaps in the vibrations, and so like little holes where the air is kind of popping through, so you get like this textured kind of sound. So it is it's not something we use so much in classical music, but if you were going to play with contemporary styles, it could be something you would use, or even for some musical theater characters if you're doing really like characters, like maybe a villain or something, So yeah, it is something you could end up using, but typically not in your classical pieces. But like I said, there are uses for it, so we like to at least know how to get there. All right, so we're gonna play going a little bit higher now. So again, that's gonna be so just sliding through. Let's go ahead and try that together. Breathing in. Breathe. Breathe. Head voice at that point. So we're through where we're mixing and using both muscles together to support each other, and we are now at the point where we are just in pure head voice at the top there. I want to see what happens if we go a little bit farther, just because I want to see just kind of the range, but also I want to hear as we approach that whistle register as well. If you're playing a character like Christine Daae from Phantom of the Opera, for instance, she has to be able to access her whistle register. Now, what is whistle register? Whistle register is like vocal fry. It's at the extreme opposite end, so it means you're stretching so far front to back that we're actually no longer closing entirely. We're just vibrating like the tippy end of the vocal folds, because when they're open, they're like an open V. So we're just vibrating like right at the top. We're stretched so far that we no longer are vibrating along the full vocal folds, and it's just like right on the end there. And so that is something all singers can learn to use, but a lot do not. But with the pieces that you're gravitating towards and the types of characters you're gravitating towards, I think that learning to utilize the vocal fry and the whistle register, I just want you to have a good mastery over your full range and being able to utilize all those different parts of your voice. So let's go ahead and explore a little bit higher to see how we do. We're going to back up a little bit so we kind of ease back into that. So we're going to do that. Good. Breathing in. Breathe. Breathe. Make sure we're opening more as we get higher. Breathing in. Breathe. Let's try one more. Breathing in. Beautiful. So literally every voice type, if we get to that height, that note, everyone is in their whistle register by the time they get to there. So you're definitely in whistle register. I could hear a little bit of a tone shift up there that also kind of signaled that we were in that new space. That was lovely. How did it feel going up into that higher whistle register space?
Pretty, like, before that, okay, so that was the space where I used the voice where I felt like it was breathy. Like,
Okay.
but before, and I was surprised before I switched my voice that I could actually reach that high, because usually
Yeah.
I would have to use my breathy voice, but I don't know what happened. But yeah.
Yeah, so you were able to keep it a little bit more full and supported. So a lot of that is going to be the breath. So we always want to think of kind of like gas in a car. Without breath, the voice isn't going to work. And without gas in a car, the car isn't going to go anywhere, right? So the breath is the fuel. And so a lot of the time what happens as we're going higher, we try to use other things. It's a subconscious thing where we're like, oh, we're getting high. And then the body wants to kind of overcompensate. So the body will start doing things like we'll raise our chin to kind of reach for it, or the larynx is going to start creeping up. And so we start doing these other things where the muscles, maybe the neck muscles, like tighten to try to push the notes out. Unfortunately, those things that are an impulse, an instinct, right? Those things are going to actually kind of get in the way. So actually lifting your chin, raising the larynx, squeezing with the throat muscles, those are actually things that are going to close off the airflow. So what we need is actually to keep that air passageway more open. And so as we go higher, we want to think of, as we breathe in, expanding more as we inhale, and then keeping that path really open as we go up. And the way our anatomy is built, if we keep our chin more low, level with the floor, and our neck nice and long, our air pathway is actually going to stay more open. So instead of reaching this way for the notes, we're going to go this way for the notes. So your jaw, we don't want to pop the hinge here like I don't want to pop that joint. That's not very gentle or kind to that joint. We get like tension and stuff there. So what we're going to do is we're going to just, we're going to try to relax and release it down without popping that hinge. So we're going to try to keep this really open. As you breathe in, breathe into more of a yawn space. So I want you to try for me like you're surprised. Like someone goes, boo, and you go, yes, exactly. Good. And then I want you to try like, okay, let's say you took a bite of really hot pizza and the cheese sticks to the roof of your mouth and you're like, ow, that hurts. And you go, yes, good. So now let's do like you're really sleepy and you're like, oh, it's been a long day. Big yawn for me. Yes, exactly. So that big stretch you feel when we yawn, or that stretch you feel when you're surprised, that feeling, it technically usually is an involuntary action. So it's something that our muscles, we don't think about doing it or tell those muscles to do it usually, kind of like our diaphragm. But with singing, we actually teach those muscles to do what we want. The diaphragm, we use the ab muscles and the ribs and other things around it to kind of tell it what to do. And your palate, your soft palate, so the front, behind these front teeth, you have the hard palate, which is immovable. It's just hard because there's a bone in there. And then back here, though, that soft palate, we can raise and lower. And we use that all the time in singing. When you want to go higher, you're going to want to lift that. And that is going to help us get up into those higher spaces. So that tube the air is flowing through, we're shaping differently to help us get different sounds. You can think of it like if you had different glass bottles of all different sizes and shapes and you blew over the top of them, you would get a different sound from each one. You know, you might have a ooh, 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 you know, because they're all different sizes and shapes and the air vibrates through those bottles differently. And so when we change that shape, the air is going to vibrate differently through. So I want to try something. Let's do on a whoop. We're going to just slide low to high. So we're going to go whoop. And as you go, I want you to start with your jaw more closed and you're going to whoop. And you're going to open more towards the open ah shape as you go up higher. The vocal folds are also going to be more thick and wide at the start when you're low, and then they're gonna elongate as you go higher. So that's try that. Exactly, good. All right, so now I want you to think about adding a little more air. So think about your core more, and we're gonna think of a big wave of breath energy. So a big whoosh, like a big whoosh up and over, and it's gonna just like shoot out up and over and through and just like throw the air at that wall in front of you. Yes, yes. So I felt there was a little resistance, and that was just, it actually wasn't anything concerning, like anything that I went, oh, that sounds like damaging. It sounded to me like there was a little resistance from the muscles because they're not used to doing that. They're trying something new. So they went, ooh, that's weird. And so they just were uncomfortable for a moment, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. Also, the voice is very, very resilient. And actually, your voice, a laryngologist told me that your cells renew very quickly. So in 3 days, if you rested your voice for 3 days straight, you didn't use it at all, your body is actually going to grow entirely new cells. You'll have brand new, spanking new, like baby fresh new vocal folds after 3 days of silence. So those vocal folds are very resilient, and they're very stretchy and pliable, and they're made to do this. And so you can experiment and stretch them and use them. If it starts to hurt, that's when I say stop and we'll reassess. But if it's not painful, if it feels effortful but not painful, that's something we can still explore and play with. All right, I want to try that one more time, just to kind of hear, because sometimes you do it again and the muscles go, okay, that's what I'm supposed to do, and they sort of figure it out. So we're going to try that again. Yeah, Good, good, good. Sometimes moving your body helps as well. So this week, I want you to kind of like dance around the space a little bit, like, act like you're throwing a ball, or like kind of like do flowing whooshy moments with your arms and just kind of dance in the space. Sometimes when we move our body and we free up those muscles, then the breath flows a little more freely, and then our voice moves a little more freely. So that's something I want you to play with this week a little bit. We're going to also try going high to low now. So we're going to go wahoo, so high to low. So we're stretched and elongated at the start, and we're going to thicken and widen as we come down. So we're going to go woohoo! Try that.
Woo!
Nice. Good. Can we see if we can go a little bit lower this time?
Okay.
Woohoo!
Woo!
Nice. Yes, you carried that breath through and you kept vibrating and you changed the speed. That was really good. So those sirens, those slides, that's something I want you to do every single day. It doesn't take very long. You can do it, just take a couple minutes, even if you don't have any other time to practice. I want you to be moving the voice through and doing those stretches every single day. And that's actually going to help with a few things. That's going to help with getting the flexibility. It's going to help with the smooth transitions. It's going to help you with getting more breath control. So a lot of really positive things. So that's just a few of the things that helps, but that's an excellent exercise to do. And it's something I want you to just play with, just sliding every day. Now let's do a siren where we go up and down. Ah!
Oh!
Lovely. Nice. I want us to do a vowel modification because I think that's going to help us get more clarity. When we're lower, we want to have a little bit more closed shape in our mouth. When we go higher, we want to open more with our mouth. So when you're low, let's be a little more closed with an E. Then we're going to slide through A up to ah. And then we're going to slide back through A to the E. And that's going to help us to feel how open or closed we should be to get the clarity with the pitch. So, yee! Try that.
Yee!
Yes, and we kept more clarity in the sound, and it doesn't get as breathy. What can happen if we're too open when we're low? We can sound breathy. And if we are too, so you want to be more closed low. So if you keep it closed when you go up, it's not going to be open enough. And that's where we start to get tension and we're like dragging weight up and we don't quite get the like pingy, ringy, resonant feel up high. So it'll get like fuzzy and airy at the bottom when we're too open, and then when we're too closed, it starts to get tight and like there's a lid on the sound when we go up high. So we want to be able to change that shape when we go higher and lower. So we're going to try that. Yee! Again, I want to really enforce that.
Yee!
Yes, I felt like that had a lot more presence and a stronger, really clear tone. Did you feel like that changed?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was gorgeous and powerful sounding. I loved it. All right, beautiful. So I know that you have been working on batti batti. I'm curious, how do you usually practice it? What all do you usually do when you approach practicing this aria?
Well, usually I just like sing it and then sing it more and just like fix the places, I guess.
Okay, yeah, okay. So you've listened to it. I'm curious, who are some of the people that you enjoy listening to? Do you have favorite artists that you really enjoy their voices?
Well, I mean Benson Boone.
Okay, nice. I think he has a great voice. I totally get it. I'm curious, for batti batti, have you found any recordings of batti batti as well that have certain artists that you like the best, that are your favorites?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So who's maybe one of the people that you've heard do it that you're like, oh, I think this person has a lovely voice and a lovely interpretation of it?
Well, I don't know the names.
Yeah, that's okay. So I would say Kathleen Battle is one person that I think is really well known for doing it a beautiful, beautiful job with it. And she just has this sparkling, vibrant upper register. She's got a lovely, lovely interpretation of it. So that's one that I think would be really great to listen to. Cecilia Bartoldi, I think, has a heavier kind of approach to it. I feel like I would probably want to stick your listening. Let's focus more on like lighter voice types. Like Kathleen Battle, I think, would be a great person. If you find people like Dawn Upshaw doing it, listening to lighter soprano voices record it, I think is going to just serve you a little bit better. But maybe who are some other people that let me check because I can look on like Apple Music and stuff because I want to give you some people because you are a strong auditory learner. I want to be sure that you have some people that that you can listen to and feel like you can kind of learn from and emulate. Let's see, like there are quite a few people who have recorded it, but I want to. The thing is, as you get older, your voice will get bigger and more full. But at this point, your voice is still growing. So I want you listening to more light voice types, like Anne Sophie von Otter is a good person to listen to. Maybe I could just add that to my list of things to send to you as like homework. I'll send you some people to listen to.
Yeah, I feel like a main thing with my current like a singing teacher is that I
Yeah.
think she just wants like a fuller voice, I guess, and
Yeah, right.
like thicker, I guess, because that's like the way
Yeah.
she sings. So yeah,
Well, that's more of a classical style to add more warmth to the tone and a richness. So I would say we want to be listening though to more soubrettes and light lyrics here, maybe like a light lyric coloratura. Um, so we're listening to people with a little bit of a lighter soprano voice type because of the aria as well. It's the character and the aria type. Because when we learn different character types in opera, they have different voice types. So right now, you're focusing more on like light lyric coloratura type things and soubrette kind of characters. Yeah?
yeah,
Yeah, so that's what I'm kind of considering. So people like Ellie Ameling would be a lighter soprano, or Emma Kirkby, maybe Beverly Sills or Diana Damrau would be great, or Lucia Pop would be a great person to listen to as well. So I'm just thinking of voice types that are going to be more the character types that you're playing right now. They're still going to have that rich, full, warm, classical kind of sound. So yeah, I'll send you some good options for listening this week and like people to emulate as well. Do you have a recording that you like to practice singing the piece with?
oh yeah.
Yeah. Great. So, like, do you have an accompaniment track, like a piano track that you usually practice with, or do you usually try to sing along with another artist? Do you have like the app accompanist, which is there's an app that it's not very expensive. It's like $10 a month or something, and then they have a lot of like piano accompaniments for classical and musical theater pieces. How do you usually approach your practice of the aria?
Well, I practice with the accompanist I found on YouTube. I have the
Okay, great.
link.
Awesome. I think that's a great resource. And one of the things I love about that is you can change the speed on YouTube as well. And I think Bhakti Bhakti is especially one that, because we have so many quick release breaths, being able to adjust the speed is so helpful. So what I would love to do next, I'd love to just hear the aria. I just want to hear where it's at, and then we can go from there. So I'd love for you to just sing through it one time, and I'm going to take some notes as you go on the things I'm hearing and things that I feel like are going well, things that I feel like we can improve on.
Yeah. Okay. Like, should I use an accompanist, or like, can I do it like a cappella?
Let's go ahead, because you usually practice with the track. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna make it where you can share the screen as well, or share the music or whatnot. Probably if you play it on your side and you sing, I can still usually hear it if you've got your sound settings, or I've been able to hear you the whole time. So if you just want to play it, it's probably fine if you don't want to share the screen or anything. But if you do, I enabled that so that you can. And I've got the sheet music, so I can kind of follow along as you go.
There just might be some delay. I don't know. That's like the past experience.
Okay. Yeah, that's why I usually have you play it on your side instead of me playing it and then like streaming it to you and then it streaming back to me. Because if there's a delay, I'd rather it be for me than for you.
Okay.
Yeah. So go ahead and play it on your side, and let's just run through it, and we'll just do the best we can with it and have fun.
Let me just pull it up real quick.
Okay.
Can you see it?
Yep. Perfect.
Batti, batti, oh belle mazzetto, la tua povera Selina, sarò chi come il tuo pote aspettar. Batti, batti, la tua Selina, sarò chi il tuo pote aspettar. Las esplorare crede, las erogabili occhi, le corre tuo, le tapu, pace, vida mia. pace, pace, via, via, pace, pace, via, via, locodiendo alegría, a te digo gracias. Sí, 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 yo de foglia pasa. Sí, 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 no de foglia pasa, foglia, foglia pasar, foglia, foglia pasar. Wow, I haven't sang that in a long time.
Oh, okay, really? Okay. So it was like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
getting back to it. All right. So tell me, I took some notes as you went. What was maybe the number one thing that you felt good about or that went well?
Um,
Maybe the thing that was the most fun about it. What did you enjoy most about it?
I like the dynamic, how like it went up and down. Like that was fun.
Yes. I agree. Yeah, the dynamics. I think that was a strong point that you were doing a really beautiful job of listening to the accompaniment and paying attention to what was happening in the song and letting it grow and crescendo and then come down and be softer at certain points. Yes, I agree. Yeah, some of the dynamics and musicality were really working beautifully there. What was maybe the number one thing that you felt like, this could be better? I feel like I could improve that.
Oh, in the beginning, it started a bit rough. I feel like, um,
Okay, yeah. I could see
and then
that kind of warming up into it. Like it took a second to get into the song. Yeah.
in the middle of it, I switched to my breath voice, which I used for the rest of the way. I don't know if you could hear
Yeah.
that. Could you? Like,
Yes. Yeah. So you could feel there was a definite shift there. Um,
yeah.
so, so what changed from, so what changed in that moment? Like, what did you physically feel differently and what did you do differently at that point?
Physically I feel like I, it was just like, it went to like another different area where like, it was just different, but it allowed me to reach those high notes without like feeling like some straining here, I guess.
Yes. Okay. Yes. That totally makes sense. Did you feel like earlier in the song like you were pushing a little bit or
Yeah.
straining or tightening in the upper?
That's why I
You
decided to make the
adjusted. Yeah.
change. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I took notes that were addressing just that. So that's awesome that you had that awareness and that you went, this doesn't feel great. I think I'm going to adjust. So I love the self awareness. I love the ability to change. So you went from this feels uncomfortable, it doesn't feel right, this feels like painful and not correct. So you adjusted. But then you also noticed you were like, okay, now though my sound is a little more airy and breathy than I would prefer. Right. So yes, I took notes on that exact same thing. So some of the notes that I took at the beginning, like you were saying, I said that the upper notes felt a little pinched.
Yeah.
And we want a more open but also very full resonance. So we need to play with the shapes and utilizing the resonant spaces. So shaping a little bit differently and then figuring out where we want to feel the vibrations happening in order to get that more full sound. You can kind of think of the resonant spaces where you're focusing the breath vibrations into, the air vibrations into. Think of that as kind of like a natural physical amplification system, kind of like a megaphone kind of effect. So that's something that we want to work on. The diction needs a little bit of work, so I want to work
Yeah.
on the diction more. The breath, I took some notes on the breath. So there were some times where we were getting a little bit like winded and it felt a little like gaspy when we were getting air, like taking the breaths there. I did say that when it was more flowing phrases, like longer flowing phrases, it felt like the breath was more solid. And when you have those shorter, quick phrases, those felt like it was a little bit like kind of a
Yeah.
feeling to me. And so we want to be sure that we manage the breath better in those sections. I also noted, especially right at the beginning, those leaps where you go low to high. Those I noticed were a little bit like squeezed or tight. And so we need to find a way to relax those neck muscles a little bit and open a little bit more. We're not quite singing through the high note on those leaps where we go low to high. And so I want to be sure that those upper notes are like fully sung and fully supported. So that's something I want to work on. I would love to take some time just to really work on the quick release breath, that feeling of the catch breath, how to do that in a way that's more effortless, because right now it feels pretty effortful. And then, so I noticed too, sometimes it was like you didn't quite get a good breath. So you'd like have to breathe mid-phrase, you know, in the middle of a word or something. I did make a note when that first C line, that was mwah, just molto bene, beautiful, beautiful. So I loved that phrase. I was like, oh, gorgeous. So did you feel that when you did that phrase? I felt like it was powerful, it was consistent, your breath flowed so beautifully through, every single note was supported, you had a lovely like spin and ring and vibrato ringing through, some gorgeous clear, vibrant, rich tones coming through there. So that phrase, I was like, oh, mwah, chef's kiss. Beautiful. So I definitely wanted to point that out. So I did take some notes on things. I was like, we could improve these things. And I would say that a lot of that is going to be improved by working on the same couple things. So working on the breath and then also working on the resonance. Those two things are going to help a lot. So I'm going to send you some homework. I'll send it through the messaging on Lesson Face. And so you're going to get some notes from me on my observations today, just kind of where we're at with everything, what's working well, what we need to keep working on. I'm going to give you some ideas of how to be practicing over the next week. And, you know, you don't have to do exactly everything I say, but I'm going to give you just kind of like a guideline of like, here are some things to be focusing on. We're definitely going to focus on some breath work. And we're definitely going to be focusing on accessing and utilizing the resonance spaces. So those two things are going to be a big focus for this week. Some things I noticed today that I think you're doing a beautiful job with. I love the flexibility in the vocal folds. I love your ability to get into the low lows and the high highs. Most students, when they come in, are really only comfortable with one muscle or the other. I felt like you did such a lovely job of being able to access both and even them working together. I know you said in the mix, that transition from the mix to the pure head voice, you got through that smoothly today. So I was very excited about that. That was lovely. A lot of people really struggle with those transition moments, and you got through those smoothly. So I was very excited about that. So you have a really good handle on the vocal agility, the flexibility of the voice. You've got a good handle on utilizing both of those muscles and exercising those well. So the main focus is going to be strengthening our coordination with our breath muscles. And then the mouth shapes, we're going to be shaping this like throat and mouth differently to help us get the kind of sounds we want. That's why sometimes it's coming across as that kind of like pinched or tight kind of feeling, and that's also why you're getting breathy at some points. So it's the breath and also the shapes up here. So those are the two things I want to really focus on right now, because I think once you get more mastery of the breath, this piece is one that the breathing is really, really challenging on. And so I think it's an excellent piece for learning to master your breathing really well. I feel like if I gave you a piece that was more flowing and lyric and legato all throughout and was more consistent phrase lengths, I'm like, oh, if I gave you like Amarilli mia bella, I'm like, I feel like you would do that so beautifully already. I think it's more of these like bouncy, fast, like short phrases where you have to do those catch breaths. I think that's the part that's really challenging right now. So it's a different type of piece. So there are definitely strengths. I'm hearing really good things, and I'm very excited about those things. But then I'm also hearing things that I'm going, oh, yes. Okay, I see where we need to work on that. So look for my notes to you. If you have any questions, if you're working during the week and you go, oh, I'm really struggling with this, or you go, oh, I think this was really good, you can always take a little voice memo and send me a recording of it. I'd love to hear that. Or if you have questions during the week and you want to like ask me and be like, hey, I was wondering, can you clarify this, or how do I approach this? Feel free to send me messages. I think I sent your mom. I will check my lesson face messages, but I'll be quicker if you send me a text message. So if you're like in the middle of a practice session and you're like, I'm struggling with this today, and you want an answer quicker, you can always text me. So there's the number that you can text me at. Also, here is my email. I check my email about the same as lesson face. So again, it's kind of like, if you have a big file that you want to send me, like a video of you singing or something, you can email it to me, or put it on Lesson Face. Instead of texting, it probably will be a little better quality for the sound. But yeah, so just so you have those, you can reach me at Lesson Face, or you can text or email as well, and I'll get back to you. But beautiful work today. I'm curious, what would you say is your number one key takeaway from today's session?
Well, first of all, during like the woo, like in that upper part, like I was really surprised that like I went through that break, like that switch as well. Like I was really surprised. So
isn't it fun when you surprise yourself? You're like, I did real good. And you're like, that felt really awesome. That's such a good feeling when you're like, ooh, okay. And I feel like that's the most fun thing. Like when you find those times where like, I feel so powerful and that big sound just came out of me and everything just clicks into place and lines up. It's such a fun feeling. I feel like actually working on more Christine songs from Phantom of the Opera would be good, because I think of Me, it's a little bit more of an easier song of hers. I think that if you learned some of the other pieces of hers in the show, it would give you some more challenges. So maybe looking at like Wishing You Were Somehow Here Again or something would be a good idea too, just to kind of, because I think that would be a really good character for you to play. So I think that would be an awesome character. So learning her songs could be just a good idea. And then what would you say is maybe the number one thing from today that you went, all right, I want to remember this and I want to keep working on it?
Like that what's it called, when like to not like there's like a cap on your voice, and like to try to like break through that cap, like,
yeah, like you feel like it's like a lid screwed on top and you're like, I gotta like pop it open and like whoosh, like break through that.
Yeah, especially like the first part when I sang the first part of Bati.
Yeah.
Like that, like I need to like get through that.
I think part of it is the range, where you are in the range at that point. So I would love to work more specifically slowly through that part of your range too, because it is like you were saying, that part where you're transitioning, it's more like the upper mix, like your heady mix. There's more head voice muscle, less chest voice muscle, but it is still mixed. It's just like upper mix. In that part, I feel like right now you're not totally sure of. Yeah. And I want you to feel like I know exactly what that should feel like and how to shape that. And the thing is, every single note and every vowel on every single note feels a little bit different. So we need to figure out how to do those. And sometimes vowel modification is going to be your best friend in those spots. So I want to more like specifically zero in on those spots so that you know exactly what it should feel like. So we'll do more precise, focused work through there next time. Sound good?
Yeah.
Perfect. So do you usually like Sundays, or should I just check with your mom on what works with your schedule for our next session?
Yeah, check with my
Okay.
mom.
Yeah, she probably has the full calendar and kind of knows everything. So I'll send her some times, and then we'll be sure you get you scheduled soon. Okay.
Okay.
All right, beautiful work today. It was so lovely meeting you, Emma. Keep up the amazing practice, and start working on bati bati more again. And I'm really excited to hear it as we just keep progressing. Awesome work. So look for that message from me because I'm going to send it later today. Okay.
Okay.
Alrighty, I'm going to go through my notes and kind of make like a lesson plan moving forward. So I'll send you some good homework and notes on that. Okay.
Okay.
All right, well, have a good one, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Okay.
All right,
you.
bye, Emma.